Well, once again, welcome to everyone. We are so grateful that you are all joining us this afternoon from a variety of different places on the West Coast. And to anyone who did not share where they're zooming in from, we are once again, happy to have you. This presentation, this open house presentation, is all about the Office for Multicultural Learning and the Rainbow Resource Center. And we are so happy and proud and honored to be sharing with you the work that we do in OML and the RRC. And before we get started, we would like to introduce ourselves. So in the Office for Multicultural Learning in the Rainbow Resource Center, we are a small staff, but a mighty staff. I'm Dr. Joanna Thompson, Director of the Office for Multicultural Learning, which also includes the Rainbow Resource Center. My pronouns are she, her, hers, or they, them, theirs is fine as well. I have been at Santa Clara University for 2 years now. I just celebrated my 2-year anniversary last year, although it feels like it's been much longer, but you know, time is just a fickle thing nowadays. I'm originally from the East Coast, so for all of you West Coasters, I'm still trying to get acclimated to being on the western part of the United States, but I was born in Virginia and raised in Maryland, so I'm an East Coast girl at heart, but definitely I think had visions of being on the West Side. I eventually went to West Virginia University for my undergrad in criminology. I then moved further west to Chicago, where I lived for 8 years in the Windy City, getting my master's and PhD at the University of Illinois at Chicago in criminology, which is my background. And then popped out here, even furthest west. And so I don't think I could go any further west unless I landed in Hawaii, but who knows? We'll see what happens in these crazy, crazy times. But it's definitely been an amazing ride so far to be able to be here with our amazing Broncos and our amazing students and doing the work that we do. And I am joined by our amazing Assistant Director in OML, Burnell. So Burnell, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, so my name is Burnell Neville. I use he, him, his pronouns. I serve as the Assistant Director in the Office of Multicultural Learning, which includes our fabulous Rainbow Resource Center. I've been here for just over a year and some change. I started in May of 2019. I'm also not originally from California, as much as I was out in the Yay area. I'm new to this part of the world. I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana, so I'm a Southern gentleman born and raised at heart. But as Joanna moved westward, I moved northward of my journey. So I went to undergrad in St. Louis, where I got my undergrad degrees in business, double majored in human resources and psychology from Washington University in St. Louis. Then I wanted to get my master's in education at Michigan State University. So kind of kept going north up the country and learned what Arctic tundra really felt like. After that, I got my first professional experience at John Carroll University in the suburbs of Cleveland, Ohio, where I worked for 5 years in Office of Residence Life before moving out here all the way 3,000 miles west out to California to start work of social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion here in the Office of Multicultural Learning. Super, super excited to be presenting with you all today so you can learn more about our office and how you could be supported and affirmed and get involved here at Santa Clara.
Yeah. And our other staff member, who is an amazing staff member, who's been a part of the 20 years of the Office for Multicultural Learning on campus, is our office manager, Pauline Nguyen. Her pronouns are she, her, hers. And again, she's the glue that holds everything OML together, and she's been here since the beginning. So if you are in need of further assistance or if you have any additional questions, we're happy to get you connected to Pauline as well. So with that being said, we also want to introduce our student assistants, because without our students, where would we be? Who would we be? We are truly here to serve our students and to make sure that their lives as Santa Clara students are the best that they can be. And we're so grateful that this year we're able to have 10 student assistants. Not all of them are currently active given the pandemic and the financial situation that many of us are facing and struggling with. But we do have connections with all of these students, as they are all student leaders across campus, even outside of their roles in OML. So as you can see, we have 5 student assistants in OML that are a variety of races, ethnicities, genders, orientations. Our 2 currently active student assistants are Jackie Ibarra Garcia and Gabby Lothschitz, who are students who have been with OML for the past 3 years. So they are veterans and working with the Office for Multicultural Learning and have a lot of great knowledge. So if there are any prospective students on the call or even parents, again, we're happy to get you connected with our student assistants so you can get get that student experience and learn from your peers to be able to hear what their experience and their time at Santa Clara has been like so far. And then in the Rainbow Resource Center, we also have a set of 5 student assistants. This is our first year of having a graduate student. Unfortunately, not active at the moment because of the pandemic and everything that's going on. Our 2 active Rainbow Resource Center student assistants are the ones on the ends here of your screen, Cassidy Basham and Valeria Rojas. And they are, again, amazing student leaders. They're involved in everything from orientation to associated student government to women's rugby to multicultural fraternities and sororities. So they are just, our students are just amazing. And again, as you can see, they range in race, ethnicity, gender, orientation, and we're just grateful that they said yes to us to be able to work for us and also represent us across campus and really be kind of the boots on the ground for the work that we do. But to give you a little bit more of a background as to OML and who we are today, the Office for Multicultural Learning and the Rainbow Resource Center are part of the Office of Student Life at Santa Clara University, which is a part of the greater division of student life. So everything that we do truly is student-centered and student-focused. The programs and events that we offered are truly meant to supplement what students are learning inside of the classroom outside of the classroom. So we are hosting events and programs outside of the typical class hours, but we are here to support what they are learning in the classroom as well. The Office for Multicultural Learning focuses on identity from a standpoint by addressing race, ethnicity, heritage, culture, and tradition, whereas the Rainbow Resource Center looks at identity as it relates to sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, and all things LGBTQIA+. So really making sure that we're supporting our queer community on campus. A fun fact about both of our offices, well, our office, but both of these entities, is that we also have a very large alumni base that is really active with our students. In the Office for Multicultural Learning, we have our end of the year recognition ceremonies, which our alumni are really a part of. And we also have mentorship programs in both of our offices that our alumni are a part of. And then for the Rainbow Resource Center, the RRC truly would not be what it is today without our alumni. They have created scholarships for our queer students. They give back to our students. They're so active. And so we're so thankful to our alumni to be able to continue to just be Broncos and be really great Broncos. As you can see there are arrows to another organization on campus, which some of you may have heard of or maybe getting introduced to throughout this open house time, which is the Multicultural Center. It's a little confusing. Multicultural Learning, Multicultural Center, but hopefully we can figure out the distinction between the two in what I'm about to say. So the Multicultural Center is a student-run club that is through the Center for Student Involvement. And we'll go into a little bit of detail about the MCC, but in general, they are 16 different clubs that represent 16 different races, ethnicities, gender identities, expressions, and we truly work together with the Multicultural Center to be able to do the work that we do in terms of celebrating the various heritages and diversity that we have on this campus. So as much as OML and RRC are an official office within the university setting, the MCC as a student club is just as important. And as you can see, in my role, I'm the advisor to the MCC. So having that direct connection with this group. Again, we also collaborate with them, and the same goes for the Rainbow Resource Center, collaborating on programs, events, offerings, and just general support to our students of color and our LGBTQ+ students. But to provide a little bit of history, as we kind of look back, last year was our 20th anniversary. And for those of you who may have already been following us on social media or maybe via email, you've probably seen a lot about the 20 years of OML history at Santa Clara University. But we like to share this because it's important, especially given everything that has happened this past summer and everything that is happening in this 2020 year, from the election to cultural changes, political changes. We still see that happening, and it all really started in 1999. At that time, the university was restructuring, and it really led to the removal of a lot of key support systems for our minority students. And on June 2nd, 1999, 250 students rallied on campus at Santa Clara. They were marching, they were wearing yellow armbands and black shirts to symbolize solidarity, and they really had 3 demands for the university. And those demands were to grant complete and exclusive access to what is known as the Chappelle Lounge to the Multicultural Center. If you haven't been to campus, or maybe you have had the opportunity to visit, the Chappelle Lounge is directly in the center of campus on our, which is a part of our Benson Memorial Center, which is our student center on campus across from our bookstore. So it's a very centralized location. And at that time, it was just used as a lounge, just an open space for students and staff and faculty to use. But the Multicultural Center was in the basement of a hall. And so they really wanted to make sure that they were more visible and had a little bit more accessibility. So that was their first ask of the university administration at that time. The second ask was to legitimize what was known as the Ethnic Studies program as an official university department, and to really make that major much more robust. So really add financial support, organizational support, and structural support to make sure that the Ethnic Studies program could really flourish. And then within both what was known as the Academic Advising and Learning Resources Center and what would be known as the Center for Multicultural Learning, really be able to provide positions, functions, structures, resources to support these targeted populations, specifically ethnic groups, the disability community, the LGBTQ plus community, international students, and even women and religious minorities. And so from that, the university administration at the time said, we see your demands, we hear you, and we'll give you what you want. And so at that point, the Center for Multicultural Learning was born. And in the last 20 years has really been able to be a voice for our students of color on campus, and to be this institutional support for our LGBTQ plus and students of color. And so since then, we've had a lot going on, but we do like to share this amazing image of the original Center for Multicultural Learning crew from their grand opening on April 20th, 2000. This is an image that was published in the Santa Clara, which is our student-run newspaper on campus. And the one thing that I like to point out, as you can see in the caption that was associated with the photo, was that CML was really made possible by a 3-year grant. So in essence, the vision of CML was really only meant to last for 3 years. It was, grant funded, and who knew what was going to happen past those 3 years. And then 20 years later, and even beyond, as we go into year 21, there's so much that has been done and so much that continues to be done. So it's kind of exciting for Burnell and I and our students to be able to be a part of another chapter in this longer story, knowing that 3 years has turned into 2 decades, and we're just really honored to be a part of that on this campus. So as we're thinking about, again, the connections that we have to other groups on campus, we did want to also just outline this connection between the Multicultural Center. The Multicultural Center is actually older than OML. It was first started in 1985, as you can see there, and born out of this unity movement. At that time, there was a lot going on, again, politically, socially, structurally, on and off campus. And there were 6 different student clubs that really started this Multicultural Center. And as you can see there, it was the Asian Pacific Islander Student Union, Barkada, which represents our Filipino students, the Chinese Student Association, Igwe Buike, or the Black Student Union, Kamana'o Hawaii, which represents our Hawaiian population, and what was known as Mecha El Frente, but is currently known as the Latinx Student Union. And those were the groups that really started this Multicultural Center to be able to, again, be a voice for our students of color on campus. As I mentioned earlier, the MCC is run through the Center for Student Involvement and is one of the 9 chartered student organizations on campus, or CSOs. And again, they're completely student run. In my role as advisor, I just kind of sign the checks and make sure that they're going okay, doing okay. They have the resources that they need, but also to be a mentor as well, to be able to make sure that they're getting, the non-academic support that they need. Because when we think about students of color and our queer students, there's a lot going on outside of the academic context that they need resources and support. But the MCC truly is committed to celebrating the diversity that we have on this campus, and to be able to promote perspectives of people of color, to be leaders at the intersections, and to really show that for our campus community. As you can see, the unity movement has really been built since 1985. And unfortunately, those dates that you see there from Unity 1 to Unity 4 are actually really heavy dates in Santa Clara University's history. These are moments of racial injustice that have happened on our campus, direct moments of racism being seen in our housing, on campus for many different groups. And this has actually fueled the work that MCC has done, again, to be able to advocate for more protections, more support, more structural support from the university. So those dates, as heavy as they are, they have been moments of change for our campus. So hopefully there's not a Unity 5 coming through, because again, that we don't need anything happening, no more drama. We've been safe since 2015, so hopefully we can just continue this train without anything crazy happening. And then, as you can see, the Multicultural Center has their own set of programs and services. The 16 different clubs that are part of the MCC have weekly meetings with their own staff, their own student boards, their own kind of system and way of operating. But the main programs that they offer throughout the year for the entire campus or the fall open house. Usually in person, they open the Multicultural Center and the Chappelle Lounge for folks to be able to come in, see their space, learn a little bit more about the programs they offer. They have Allyship Week, which is really a time for the MCC clubs to collaborate with other student organizations on campus to discuss the importance of allyship and what that looks like in different communities. The Youth Empowerment Program, where the MCC is able to go out into the community and talk to as young as kindergartners or maybe as old as 12th graders in high school, to be able to not only get them ready for college, but to really talk about what it means to be a person of color at a university, at a college, and have those conversations. The Youth Empowerment Program also hosts tours on campus where we bring K through 12 folks from all over, not just the Bay Area, but we've even had high schools from as far as Los Angeles to be able to come to our campus and really see what life is like on campus at a college. There's also Global Village, which unfortunately we have not had because of the pandemic. We were supposed to have it in spring, but things just kind of turned around right around the time we were going to have Global Village, around March or April. But it's kind of a block party for all of our different Multicultural Center clubs, where we have performances, food trucks, and just a good time to be able to celebrate the culture and heritage of all of the clubs that we have. And each of the clubs have their own cultural shows. So I know in the spring, there were a couple of them that did a virtual culture show. Again, not necessarily knowing what's going to happen this year given the pandemic, but hopefully we'll be able to still uplift and affirm all of our clubs with their cultural shows, even if they are in a virtual setting. With that being said, the 16 MCC student clubs are listed on your screen right now. We have, again, a variety of different ethnic, racial, gender identities. And some of these are as old as the ones that you saw from 1985, those first 6 that really started what is now known as the MCC. And some of these are relatively new. For example, the Native American Coalition for Change. It's been around for a couple of years. Students for Justice in Palestine, been around for a couple of years. Or MENA, the Middle Eastern North African Club, which is also pretty new, but a very large population on our campus. So as you can see, all of these groups are working together, collaborating, and again, really just uplifting the communities that we have on this campus, because we are a pretty diverse campus. This incoming class was actually 51% students of color. So being able to see that we are shifting from a predominantly white institution to mostly students of color is kind of exciting to see. So now I will talk a little bit about what the Office of Multicultural Learning is. Excuse my throat, I'm like losing my voice. I've been talking so much. Let me mute myself so I can clear my throat. Ooh, so this is what happens when you're on Zoom all the time. You just start to lose your voice. So now that we've talked about the MCC, we really want to break down the Office for Multicultural Learning and the Rainbow Resource Center. And this mission statement is relatively new. It was crafted last summer by the professional staff and a graduate student intern that we had last summer, because we realized that as we were embarking upon our 20th anniversary, we really wanted to make sure that we were keeping up with the times. And we wanted to make sure that who we are as an office reflects the world that is changing around us. And we wanted to make sure that we were accurately saying that in our mission statement. Our mission statement before this time, if again, you are familiar with OML prior to this point, it was a heavy one. So it's really nice as the director of this office to be able to give you a very concise, clear mission statement. But as you can see on your screen, as a part of the Office of Student Life, the Office for Multicultural Learning is committed to promoting social justice, building bridges across diverse communities, and celebrating differences of students at Santa Clara University. In addition, we advocate for historically underrepresented populations and educate the whole person within the context of Jesuit values. Our office is also guided by what we like to call our 3 C's. You can call them values, you can call them goals, but it really guides the work that we do and how we do it. Our 3 C's are celebrate, contemplate, and commit. So we celebrate the diversity that makes up SCU while critically analyzing systems that exist locally, nationally, and globally. Some of the ways in which we do this celebration, we actually just hosted our 21st annual, what was known as a multicultural virtual meet and greet. Usually we have our welcome reception in person, but given this virtual life that we are leading, it was definitely, something that we knew that we had to continue to host, but in this virtual way. And it's really just a time for us to be able to show incoming first year students and transfer students who we are, get them connected to the Multicultural Center and other groups across campus, and really get them starting to create community with other folks of color and LGBTQ plus folks on campus. We also celebrate so usually we start the year with our welcome, and then we end the year with our multicultural recognition ceremonies, or what was previously known as senior ceremonies. These are open to all graduating undergraduates and all graduating graduate students, where we simply honor and recognize the fact that, hey, you made it, you survived, but also understanding that you survived as a Black student, as an LGBTQ plus student, as a Asian American, a PISA student. What does that mean to be able to graduate and in that identity, and really, again, continue to uplift and affirm those communities. Plus, it's just a fun time before actual commencement to be able to be with our students and celebrate them. This past year in the spring, we were able to host that virtually, and we had parents, families joining, and it was definitely a really great time to be able to continue to do that, even in this virtual setting. And we also celebrate via Heritage Month. So many of you may be familiar with some of the more popular Heritage Months, like February being Black History Month, June being Pride Month, but there's pretty much a Heritage Month every month of the year, in addition to various awareness days for various communities. For example, October is Latinx Heritage Month, LGBTQ plus History Month, Filipino American History Month, and also Domestic Violence Awareness Month. So there's a lot going on in the month of October, and we as an office truly look to educate folks on those different heritages or situations, and being able to, again, uplift and affirm all of the cultures that we see. We also engage in contemplation. We would not be the Office for Multicultural Learning if we didn't do a little bit of learning and a little bit of educating. So one of the best ways that we do that is through historically what is known as a difficult dialogue. In this virtual setting, we are offering a digital difficult dialogue, or a 3D, to be able to create spaces where faculty, staff, students, administrators, alumni, and even community members can come together and talk about really hot button issues. Last year, some of the topics we covered were the face of homelessness, and really addressing the impact of people experiencing homelessness, particularly here in the Bay Area, and getting folks involved. We've also talked about the impact of language, and how in Latinx communities, if you don't know Spanish, does that mean you're Latinx? So all different types of topics that we address within our dialogues. We actually have our first one of the new year coming up tomorrow in honor of October being Domestic Violence Awareness Month. We're partnering with the Wellness Center, which is another office in the Office of Student Life, to discuss the impact of domestic violence at the intersections and how that affects communities of color in the LGBTQ plus community. We also started a new kind of offering in our office, racial justice workshops. Again, given the impact of things that have happened out in our society this past summer, we as an office have taken it upon ourselves to really make sure that folks are getting educated about racial justice and really holding folks accountable to be able to get involved and make a difference and make a change. I'm sure many of you are aware that Father O'Brien, the president of Santa Clara University, has said that our university is working to be an anti-racist institution. And we feel that our racial justice workshops are really helping to make that initiative move forward. And so it's been great to be able to talk with student groups, staff, and faculty on what to do around racial justice, unpacking biases, and really, again, providing folks the accountability to make that change in their classrooms and in the world that they live in. And then we also have a podcast that we would love for you all to be able to listen to us. If you're on Spotify or Apple or even SoundCloud, you can find us on any of those platforms. It is called Word on the Street. You can just Google SCU Officer Multicultural Learning Word on the Street. And it was originally born out of an idea from our students who were like, hey, podcasts are kind of cool. We should have a podcast. And so we started one, and it's been a great time to be able to, again, address really hot button issues and topics with our students or some faculty and staff on campus to just have a conversation about social justice, racial justice. The last episode that we just recorded a couple of weeks ago was discussing and really unpacking the word Latinx, given that it is Latinx Heritage Month. And it was a conversation that Burnell and I had with some of our students on campus to really talk about the impact of the word and what it means to them. And we had a variety of nationalities represented, from Nicaragua to Puerto Rico to Mexico. So it was really great to even just hear the nuances in all of our communities and what that word really means. And then lastly, before I hand it over to Burnell for the Rainbow Resource Center side of the house, we do commit. And the Office for Multicultural Learning, if anything, all of these C's are really important, but that commitment is even more important, that we want to make sure that folks are not just engaging in our office one time and not just engaging in issues of social justice and racial justice one time, but truly making that commitment to engage in this work for the rest of their lives. And so we're lucky to be able to partner with many groups across campus to help make this commitment and make sure that we are holding folks accountable to this commitment. The Inclusive Excellence Student Advisory Council, or ISAC, they are responsible for the second point on there, the quarterly campus-wide diversity forums, and really looking at diversity from this institutional level. So it's a time for staff, students, administrators, faculty to be able to come together and, again, really address the diversity issues that are really impacting our campus community. Our first diversity forum is happening in just a couple of weeks, where we're able to hear directly from folks like Father O'Brien, from Provost Lisa Kloppenberg, and others across campus. And it really provides the students a direct communication between our administration to be able to be that bridge and voice their concerns and the challenges that they're having, so that we can, again, work together to make sure that we're having this commitment to moving things forward and progressing and advancing. We're also a part of the Being a Bronco series, which is run by the Office of Student Life. So that includes our office, the Wellness Center, Off-Campus Living, the Office of Accessible Education, and the various deans in the Office of Student Life. But this series is a series that all incoming first year and transfer students must complete. So any of you prospective students will most likely be going through that series if you decide to come to Santa Clara University, and you'll be seeing our amazing faces. And the series has 7 different parts that talks from everything about online diversity modules to Connect You, which is a new portion that we have this year to really welcome you into the Santa Clara University values and community values, to even really just looking at the impact of health and wellness with the Wellness Center. So it's a great series, and we're able to provide the diversity, equity, and inclusion portions of that series and really make sure that our incoming students are thinking about these things, thinking about intersectionality, social justice, racial justice, and that way they're starting on kind of this baseline of information, so that they're able to build on those topics and those concepts as they continue throughout their time at Santa Clara. So that is OML in a nutshell, and I'm going to hand it over to Burnell so he can outline the Rainbow Resource Center.
Yeah, so similar as Joanna outlined earlier in the presentation, so both OML and RC exist to promote issues of social justice and bring students together to have some critical conversations around identity. It's just the populations that we serve look a little different each side of the house. So within the Rainbow Resource Center, as you can see, the mission statement, the newly created mission statement is outlined on our screen, recognizing that RSC will be celebrating its 10th anniversary next year, trying to get things revamped and kind of updated towards what we're actually doing now, the students that we are serving. And so as you see, the mission statement is as follows. As part of the Office of Multicultural Learning, the Rainbow Resource Center educates, empowers, and celebrates the experiences and identities of the LGBTQ+ community at Santa Clara University. The RSC maintains an affirming, inclusive, and welcoming environment for people of all identities. In addition, we advocate for those who self-identify within the wide spectrum of sexual orientations and gender identities expressions, and educate the whole person within the context of Jesuit values. As you see, very parallel to the OML structure because it's the same office, just again, population we serve, a little different. So just to unpack some of our signature programs that we've done historically in the RSC, now, this past spring and going into this fall, recognizing that we are virtual, things might look and feel a little bit different because there's a lot of nuance that comes with supporting folks in the queer community in a virtual space, where things like race, ethnicity, and culture are more salient and more visible identities. Things like gender identity, sexual orientation can be more hidden and personalized. And so people may, when people are currently at home in their spaces, they may not be in a space where they can be out or be open or be comfortable expressing their identities in those ways. So people might feel that need to hide themselves for safety reasons. So we're definitely keeping mindful of that as we're navigating programming in this virtual space. We're trying to prioritize our students' safety, but still make sure facilitating spaces and places for students to feel affirmed, welcomed, and appreciated here at Santa Clara. And one of our signature programs that we've done prior to pandemic, we're still doing in pandemic, is what we call our safe space trainings. These are what we kind of refer to as our LGBTQ plus 101. So this is where we cover basic terminology and language, what's the difference between sexual orientation versus gender identity, gender expression, cover a timeline of LGBTQ plus history of like when certain movements happen, first organizations, the legislation that is passed that has helped and or hindered the queer community. This is just a basic workshop that we do. This is a workshop we do in collaboration with the Office for Diversity and Inclusion that takes more the lead on faculty staff initiatives. But we in Office Multicultural Learning and the Rainbow Resource Center, we take the lead on doing student facilitations and trainings, or those who work closely with students in facilitation. So for example, this past summer, we did one with the orientation leaders. We hosted one with our counseling center. And honestly, any student group that wishes to have one, I know last year we did several with various organizations such as our Associated Student Government asked to do one. One of our off-campus sororities reached out to Joanna to do one as well. So we, if any student expresses an interest and want to bring this to their organization, to their club, their space, their residence hall community, we are open to bringing those in. Either myself or Joanna or one of our student assistants in the RSC will be available to facilitate those conversations. And we do our best to make sure they're personalized to what the students want to unpack. For example, we've gotten an uptick in requests this past year of leaning heavier into issues surrounding the transgender community and what that looks like and how that support can manifest in a Catholic campus. So we're willing to delve deeper into whatever topics that the organization wants to have more conversation dialogue around. We have previously to this year offered what we call a drop-in group called Spectrum. Now, this is one of those things that given the virtual nature of our office right now in pandemic, we aren't able to offer Spectrum. This is when we have a chance to have the RC just be open space to just come in to discuss. There's never a set agenda, set topic that we want to talk about. We just want to create a safe space for people to come and engage and talk. And this was open for all members, either queer students or their allies. We're looking to we use this opportunity personally to put on a pause on this program because we really want to be critical about the effectiveness of this program because recognizing that there's a lot of nuances and specific aspects of the queer community that make mental health challenges very special and unique for that population. We want to make sure we're creating a space that is affirming and helpful for students in that space. We're looking forward to Mel, one of the student assistants that Joanna outlined earlier, being a graduate student studying clinical mental health psychology. We're like, yes, oh my God, this would be awesome. Can come revamp Spectrum, be great. But Miss Rona is like, no, no, no. So currently on pause with that program, but hopefully looking to see how we can revamp that and create that space for our students. Currently, though, we do have open office hours, the Rainbow Resource Center. So Joanna and I actually just got off one early this afternoon. Every Wednesday from 2 to 3, we have an open Zoom call for students to virtually drop by the RRC. And actually do have a student who's regularly stopping by, which is super awesome to have them come every week to just kind of be a space to receive you all, talk to you, support you in your identities as you're navigating various stages of your identity and claiming that, recognizing that, coming out, whatever you're, wherever you are in your development, we're here to support you. We just launched this a few weeks ago. Super excited that we're able to continue this in pandemic. It's a mentorship program called Rainbow Buddies. So this is an opportunity that we have to partner LGBTQ plus students without LGBTQ plus faculty, staff, and alums. And so this is where we sent out a survey to gather interest in the program. And if you're interested, you fill out some information about certain interests, hobbies, identities, and do our best to pair you up with someone who would match up well with you based on your various interests, identities, sexual orientation, gender identities, and just to be almost like an elder figure in your life to help you walk through this process. Because especially in terms of things like coming out, there's no right time to come out. It happens when it happens on your own time. But to have someone maybe who's a little further along in their journey to kind of walk alongside you and accompany you in that space, it's a very, very powerful thing to have. This year, we're hoping to revamp it a little bit because in the past, Rainbow Buddies is very one-on-one focused with that mentor-mentee relationship. But recognizing that in pandemic, we're all alone together, living through Zoom calls. We're trying to create an opportunity to bring our communities together, especially in the queer community. It can be very challenging and sometimes isolating and lonely to be on this journey by yourself. So trying to make sure we're creating spaces to bring everyone involved in the Rainbow Buddies program together for either like social game nights, movie watches, just gatherings to just be in community with other folks in this program, to be with other queer folks. So hoping to create those spaces. And we just launched that. We're actually be working on the pairings in the next couple of weeks. So super excited to really get that going for the year. One of our initiatives to actually still be moving forward in the pandemic. And then the remaining programs that we do a variety of different, again, awareness days and recognition days, as Joanna referenced. October is LGBT plus History Month, so we've been doing various social media posts around that. We're looking to hopefully host an end of the month kind of celebration as a combination of the month, but also recognition of our birthday as an office. It's actually on Halloween, so on the 31st. RSC will be turning 9. So looking to have a nice little social gathering around that. But some of the programs that we've historically done within collaboration with a group called Queers and Allies, which is a group run through the Center for Student Involvement. They build more large scale events like drag show and rainbow prom. Now, these events, obviously given pandemic and health expectations, we can't exactly have them in person. So SCAP and our staff are currently in conversations of what that might look like in a virtual space, whether it be a virtual Zoom dance party. We may not afford DJ D Nice to come in, but maybe we can have something going to have like a virtual dance experience for our students, or maybe collaborate with a local organization here in the Bay Area, Silicon Valley, to have maybe like a drag brunch or a drag bingo or something like that. So we're still trying to like make it happen, but it will look very different in this virtual space. And one of the other signature events that we have put on in the past as well includes our Queer Film Festival, which for me, selfishly, as the movie lover in the office, super sad. It may not happen this year, but we're going to look to see if we can make it work in a virtual space. We don't know what shooting something through Zoom looks like. We don't know. We're all on this boat. We're sailing it as we're building it. It's fine. We're gonna make it work. We're gonna figure it out. But historically, this has been an opportunity for us to screen movies on campus and have some post conversations and dialogue. Last year, we actually revamped this program because in the past, we had our 6th annual Queer Film Festival last year, and historically, it's been 1, maybe 2 movies that we screened, smaller scale audiences. So last year, we doubled the amount of offerings that we had to go bigger, bolder, and better. So we had 4 movies that cover the gambit of the queer experience. From the intersections of being Black and being queer and films like Moonlight, to being trans and competing as an athlete in high school. Some of the films actually were able to have directors and subjects of documentaries to come in to be part of talkbacks and conversations. So hoping to looking to still have some film screenings in the future, but again, don't know what that fully looks like in a virtual setting, but fingers crossed we'll be able to happen because historically it happens in our winter quarter. So we're definitely in this planning stages of that right now as we speak. And so I referenced a lot us being in the virtual format. If you can't tell, we miss seeing people. We miss being around everybody and being in this affirming and joyful and happy spaces. So we wanted to provide you all just a couple of images from us last year to just showcase like really what OMLRC is. It's not just Joanna and I, it's really the people, the students, the vibrancy, the love, the energy, the excitement. It's such an amazing office and space to be a part of and to support here on our campus. And we're really hoping, knock on wood, Sunday, we'll be back on campus, and be able to be with our students and affirm them, recognize them, celebrate them, cry with them, just be with them to support them on their journeys and their identity developments. But this just gives you a little brief snapshot of what things look like pre-pandemic that hopefully will look like this someday again.
With that being said, go ahead. Sorry.
No, it's okay. So we want to make sure we left a little time at the end to have you all ask any questions if you felt comfortable. Like recognizing, just want to say, we didn't say it at the front, so I apologize. This is being recorded to share with those who aren't able to come. So be mindful of that. If you do unmute yourselves and ask the questions, want to make sure that's said, so you know you're consenting to be on camera. But feel as a reference, even if you do not end up choosing Santa Clara, that's perfectly fine. I want to make sure you find a school that's right for you. But still feel free to follow our office. I mean, selfishly, as the person who's been helping run our social media since pandemic started, I think we push a lot of great content out there that makes people aware of different heritage months and different histories and educations and fun facts. So we're a great follow, even if you don't go to Santa Clara. So feel free to follow us at OML on our Facebook and Instagram, and RC on Facebook and Instagram as well. You can take out your phones, scan those QR codes right now if you ever feel ever so inclined. And as we start to wrap up, I just want to also share with you all our email addresses. And so if there's any specific questions you have that maybe you didn't get answered here, you want to learn more about various organizations or various programs that we host in the office, how we are coping in pandemic, feel free to send Joanna or I an email. You see both of our email addresses on the screen respectively. We also have our general office emails, which is very evidently at oml@su.edu and rc@su.edu. Those emails go to all of our professional staff. And so if you just want this to be generically a question at the office, you can send those as well. If you have a very specific targeted question that you want to talk to me about being Southern and Mardi Gras, how much I miss my family down there, feel free to send me an email. But if you want to more generically know about programs that OML has to provide, send the OML office email, an email right there.